Good morning, everybody. My name is Andy Walker, and I am the Partner Manager for Bytes. Thank you for attending our webinar today, in which we will learn about the business benefits of Dynamics 365, specifically focusing on unified operations. This is the second webinar that we are running on Dynamics 365, having previously presented on customer engagement. If you'd like to see that webinar, please write a note in the question box on the right-hand side of the screen, and we'll forward you the link. To support the webinar today, we have QuantiQ, who are a leading Microsoft Dynamics Gold partner, helping customers in all verticals deploy the entire Dynamics suite. Representing QuantiQ, we have Andy Blatch, a senior solutions consultant, who will take you through the webinar. A quick bit of housekeeping. During the webinar, you are muted, but you can submit questions at any time during the using the question box on the right-hand side of the screen. There will be a Q&A session at the end to answer all of the submitted questions. And if you can please complete the critique form at the end where you can request a callback from one of our specialists at Bytes. I will now hand you over to Andy from QuantiQ.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for the intro there, Andy. Much appreciated. Bear with me a moment while I just share my screen with you. Okay, into today's session, as Andy said, we're going to focus on unified operations. I'll kick off, though, just to give you a brief overview of who I am and who QuantiQ are, so please do bear with me. I'd like to say thank you as well for taking the time to come and take part in this webinar today. So in terms of who QuantiQ are, that's a very nice slide there, giving you lots of facts and figures. The key takeaway from that is really, as Andy's already said, we're a gold and inner circle partner for Microsoft. We have a diverse team of 173 people, and we have a lot of experience within this market space. Over 1,000 years of experience, 950 deployments, and so on. Why work with us? Key features. This may seem a little glib possibly, but we really do believe in people. The business we're in is providing software services to yourselves. So Bytes will be your partner providing the software, and then we're there to really help you through that process of making the most out of that software. So the people side of our business is incredibly important. We've been ranked number 23 in the UK's Best Workplaces survey, which indicates how important we place people at the centre of our business. We also got a great passion for technology. Most of our employees come from an industry background, like yourselves, with that detailed technology understanding, and then they have that experience in how to apply that best for you, so that we can really take advantage of our experience there and bring that to the implementations. As an example, myself, I started life as an accountant, so on your side of the table, really implementing systems, selecting systems, utilising those systems. I moved over into ERP consulting some 20 years ago, and now I'm in the position of sort of presenting and helping companies like yourselves to really start making the most out of these modern dynamic systems. Also, we use Dynamics ourselves every day. So we eat our own dog food, I believe the phrase is. We believe in what we do so much we actually utilize the systems ourselves. In terms of other services we present, we implement the system, but we also have a wider range of other services. I shan't dive into them right now, but the slide deck will be shared with you after this session. And it would be remiss of me not to show you some of the key clients we've worked out. I'll pull out one or two interesting ones, particularly Gusto. You may have seen they've now got an advertising campaign on the TV. That's a particularly fast-growing food business. Carpetright in the retail sector. You say a wide range of different companies there covering several service sectors. Okay, now onto the meat of the session. So I'm going to talk about really Dynamics 365 unified operations in relatively generic terms to start with, and I'm going to dive into certain specific functional areas. So as Andy said at the beginning, there's already been a webinar based on the customer engagement side of the Dynamics 365 product suite, which really addresses, I guess, what would be old school CRM. I'm going to now look at the side that is finance and operations, unified operations, which is really, I guess, old school ERP. Okay, to give you an idea of the breadth of the Microsoft stack, here are some product names that you may see bandied around. Key one is Dynamics 365 in the center there, which we're going to focus on today. You will hear the word Dynamics AX, Dynamics Nav, GP, Great Plains, CRM, and so on bandied around. Really, Microsoft has now unified these into a single product, Dynamics 365, of which there are two broad flavors. There's the Unified Operations, the Enterprise Edition, and Business Central. One really addresses the higher end of the market. One is slightly less complex, but still feature-rich, which is Business Central. Key thing to note is all of these technologies sit on the Microsoft stack, and therefore they utilize a lot of other areas, such as the Internet of Things, Power BI, Azure, Cortana Analytics, Power Apps, and Flow, which I will talk about in a bit more detail in a second. So historically, we would have had a CRM and an ERP to look at. You would have two main business systems, one client-facing, one inwardly focused to assist you in managing your business. So Microsoft are really, I believe this is a real game changer. They've combined these both aspects into this single one solution now. Now you can purchase the entire solution if you wish, the whole product suite, or you can buy these as individual apps. So just running around the circle, this has got the whole of marketing, sales, field service, customer service, project service automation, finance and operations, retail, and talent. So the session that Kevin Ingrate ran the other day really focused on the marketing, sales, field service, and customer service and project service automation. So these are the outward facing elements. Today we're going to focus on finance and operations, retail, and talent. Finance and operations is perhaps a slight misnomer. The emphasis there is on the finance. It also covers manufacturing, supply chain, procurement, sales management, transportation management, and an array of other operational sides to the business. So as we can see in that diagram, these are all part of the single product suite. They all interact with one another. You can buy as many or as few of these as you wish. The key benefit, I guess, of having this entire stack here is you're almost buying into an entire platform here. You could, in theory, replace the majority of your sort of central business functions with these apps, and they can be deployed individually or as a whole. Things to note on the right-hand side of the slide, we can see this is a cloud-based solution. It can be available on-premise if you wish. Obviously, the benefit of taking a cloud-based solution is you no longer have to manage the infrastructure. The various costs and the risks of doing that are removed from you. It can also operate in a hybrid scenario, particularly when we start looking at retail later on in the session, where you might have local machines where you're operating in a store, for instance, and you then want those to synchronize back up to the cloud solution centrally. Underpinning all of this, we've got the use of Power BI, Power Apps, Microsoft Flow, and the Common Data Service, as we can see below. So Power BI, we won't touch on in this session, but this is a powerful BI reporting tool from Microsoft, which you may already be aware of. This enables you to analyze and slice and dice data very easily using natural language queries and so on, and present very powerful visualizations of your data in various graphical forms, including heat maps to see perhaps where your sales are occurring most geographically and so on. Power Apps is a tool for enabling you to generate your own mobile apps. So it doesn't just apply to Dynamics 365, it can be applied to many other solutions, but it's really kind of democratizing development to some extent. It's making it easier for your slightly more technically minded end users to develop their own mobile apps and really bring to bear that sort of modern technology of being able to carry out activities whilst traveling. Microsoft Flow is another standard Microsoft tool which enables various systems to interact with one another. So, for instance, you may have an email coming in from a prospect. You can use Microsoft Flow to then trigger that to create a prospect in, say, your sales or CRM system and start tracking that communication there. It doesn't just apply to Microsoft products. Microsoft Flow is available and has it can link with various other systems, SurveyMonkey, and so on and so forth. So in a nutshell, Dynamics is a bringing together of what was traditionally CRM and ERP into a single product suite that interacts with one another, and it utilizes all of these other attendant tools around in the Microsoft stack. Okay, so I'm going to move on and look into finance and operations now in some detail. So there are some key areas I'm going to focus on today. Finance and operations really touches on finance, manufacturing, supply chain, project. All manner of businesses can be managed from within this one solution. So I'm going to focus on finance first and foremost. The solution is a centralized global solution. So effectively, you have one solution for your entire enterprise. This is hosted in data centers of your choice around the globe. The key benefit of this is you've got that one system. So all of your analytics and intelligence are focusing on that one single data source. That's incredibly powerful. You can have common chart of accounts so that your analysis is common across those areas. The solution does take into account local regulatory requirements as well. So it's not just one process, one size fits all. You can change your processes and the way you use the system in your various locations. Also, it's worth noting, one of the key features of Dynamics 365 is that these role-based workspaces. So the solution comes with some 120 standard roles out of the box. So things like purchase ledger clerk or warehouse manager or sales director and so on. Basically, these roles will enable you to have specific access to certain functionality, but more importantly, they'll give you access to specific workspaces. And I will show you a workspace later on in the demo. Basically, a workspace is a bringing together of data, tasks, activities, and so on to surface to you the things that you need to carry out your day-to-day job. So rather than people having to hunt down information and try and work out and run reports, what's going on, what activities they need to work on, the workspace really brings that together for you. So you can open the solution and you're immediately shown areas of concern you need to focus on. Also, this integrates seamlessly with Office 365. It's a Microsoft product, so it enables you to take data out into Excel, modify it, and publish it back in. Benefit of that is that it takes advantage of all the native validations that sit within the system. So you're not able to publish rubbish back into the system. You're not having to push it in and wait for validation to occur. The validation is actually occurring whilst out in the Office products such as Excel. In terms of minimizing operational expense, there's very powerful budget planning and control functionality within the solution. So you can create budgets within here. You can control them, so you can set controls so that purchase orders, invoices, requisitions, and so on are not able to breach budget, or they warn you they're going to breach budget. And you've got strong three-way matching. So it gives you the facility to really understand and control costs where necessary. The other thing to note is the solution adapts very quickly to requirement changes. It's a cloud-based solution. There are 2 main releases every year. These updates are a spring and a fall or autumn release. So we're just due for a new one shortly. So as regulatory requirements change, or taxes change and so on, or if you wish to change your chart of accounts and so on, you're able to do this and apply this very readily. Okay, that's broadly our finance solution. I will, as I say, dip into the solution shortly, just to give you a concept of what it's like. In terms of operations, so if you have, say, a manufacturing business, The solution allows you to operate in a mixed manufacturing mode, so you can have a combination of discrete, lean, and process manufacturing in that one single solution. So it may be that certain departments, divisions, companies operate in very different ways. You may have a very broad range of products that you offer. This solution will enable you to set those processes up within that one solution and allocate them to those areas as appropriate. You can also have various you can optimize your manufacturing. You can have make to stock, make to order, pull to order, and so on. So the system is incredibly flexible. I guess one of the benefits of working with a partner like QuantiQ is, again, as I've said, many of our consultants come from an industry background. So we've worked in these environments. We understand where you're coming from as a client, and that we can assist in configuring the solution to really suit your needs. But I mean, having said that, the solution's now becoming a lot more user-friendly, a lot more intuitive, and so there's certainly less reliance on using partners like ourselves continually to configure and use the system. Ideally, as part of the implementation, we'd want to ensure that you are empowered to use the system as part of that implementation, and you're not really relying on anyone to assist you with that. Moving on to simplifying resource management. Yeah, you have real-time visibility of resources. A key feature to talk about there actually is we've got the solution will operate with Azure machine learning, for instance. So we can look at detailed demand planning and use the power of machine learning to come up with suggest algorithms as to the seasonality of products and so on. So being a cloud-based solution, this really does give you some amazing power in managing your resources and making sure that you've got good handle on your demand, and you're able to ensure that you're fulfilling that in time. In terms of product delivery, we've got the facility we've got advanced warehousing features in here and logistics. There's a full transportation module that takes into account routes, the various modes of transport, lead times. Obviously, if you're in the manufacturing business, a lot of your raw materials aren't necessarily going to be sourced in the UK, so you can manage those flows from other countries, other warehouses into your manufacturing plant. Also, again, one single solution. You've got a whole suite of Power BI dashboards surfacing data about quality and so on in real time. So effectively, when your production team log on, they can see the performances, they can look at key metrics, they can really start to understand where are the bottlenecks, where are the key areas they need to focus on improving the quality of the goods passing through the business. Moving on to supply chain. So this is a global solution. So we often have global supply chains in place. Even within a single country, you may have distribution centers, you may have a hub and spoke arrangement and so on. So lots of sites with different purposes and ways of fulfilling the goods flow between those. So this single solution gives you that complete visibility across the piece. You have a facility for configuring the solution so you can optimize the various product flows within that system. Also, I guess I already touched on this in terms of deliver timely customer responses and so on, and predictive insights. We have that power of machine learning. You've got a very strong demand forecasting tool, which enables you to really look at that supply chain. What do we anticipate our demands being, which we can feed from quotations, from actual orders. You might want to build to stock and so on, but you might also want to overlay that with forecasts that you net off against your actual requirements. So a very powerful tool set in there to enable you to see what your likely demand requirements are, and to then condition your supply chain to fit those. Again, we've got very strong analysis, real-time analysis of supplier performance across the piece. You can see vendors, are they delivering on time to quality and so on. We've also got the facility to streamline our procurement processes. So it's not just got a purchase ordering system. We also have the facility to raise requisitions. We also have the facility to offer tenders, open bids. There's a vendor collaboration workspace. So it may be that for certain large pieces of equipment or items or purchases, you might be wanting to go out to tender for these. So you can manage this completely via the solution and offer up all of the bidders access to the system to submit those bids and so on. So a full procurement process with automated processes in there. One thing I've not mentioned so far, we have a workflow engine which pervades the entire system. So this is completely configurable by users. You can configure this exactly as you wish to ensure that controls and processes are in place and approval limits are adhered to. Moving on to project control. So we're very strong projects module. So I've talked about manufacturing and supply chain. So a number of our clients are in a pure service industry. So the projects module integrates completely with Microsoft Project. Obviously, that's a key tool for managing our projects. But over and above that, we can set work breakdown structures within this system, which allow us to create clear budgets and control processes. We can also carry out our resourcing within the system, where you can see the resource availability screenshot over to the right there. So effectively, projects will require skills with perhaps certain certifications or project experience, or just general roles like project management and certain expertise. So by individual, we can allocate to our workers and perhaps also subcontractors that we use the various competencies that they have. And then we can use this to allocate those to resources on specific projects. So we load our project plan, we define the roles we require. Apologies, I've brushed my screen there for a second. Okay, we're back on. And we can then use that to look at the resource pool available and ensure that we're allocating the best resource to our projects. Also, not only that, we have a set of collaboration tools within the product that enable our resources to then book their time, book their expenses, approve purchase orders and so on within both projects and across the piece, whilst they're out and about on a mobile device. So the whole concept is really to simplify the process as much as possible, to visually demonstrate where you are in terms of things like resourcing, capacity and so on, and then also enable our people to use their mobile devices to hook into this system directly. I won't dwell on this slide, but we're talking about regulatory services here. As I said before, the solution is constantly updated, take into account any regulatory changes, but also there is a no-code configuration service available, so that if you need to change the format of e-invoices, payment formats and so on, as users yourselves, you're able to do that without necessarily waiting for an update or for someone like ourselves to come in and reconfigure formats for you. It's readily available for you. Also, touching on some of these points again, I've brushed on these already really. In terms of extending and connecting, the system will integrate with lots of other systems. There's a rich and diverse source of apps available to connect to extend the core functionality if required. For instance, in credit matching, credit control, there are areas there we might use a third party ISV that we can connect to. So rather than having to pay for detailed integration, there's lots of third party systems that we can actually join together there. In terms of investing with confidence, you're investing in a Microsoft solution here. It's a cloud platform, reduces cost and complexity. It's really using state-of-the-art data centers. The security is incredibly strong, and being a Microsoft product, it's always going to be evolving. As business needs evolve, the product will evolve with you. So rather than having the costly 5 to 10 year implementation cycles we used to have, where you put a system in, you bleed the asset for a number of years and get the maximum benefit from it, we're now able to migrate you onto this platform and it will then change gradually over time. You've no longer got these costly re-implementations. You've basically got minor updates occurring all the time. And I will talk very briefly when I come on to one of the brief demos about some tools that assist with that. So what's coming up in terms of finance and operations? As I say, there's an autumn release coming out, an October release very shortly. So there are some additional features on enterprise-wide credit management. As I say, it's a global system. So we've now got the facility to proactively suggest credit control activities. There's lots of functionality there around risk management across the piece, rather than being siloed by country. Obviously, we're finding lots of companies have a global reach. So you might have a common supply base. You may have a common customer base across your entire enterprise. So you want to look at credit across the whole piece. Revenue recognition improvements. There is clear revenue recognition controls within the system as it stands. However, with reporting standards improving all the time, the Microsoft have recognized that we require some more detailed functionality around how we account for bundles and kits of products. I've talked about a global reach here. Again, we've now got a much stronger controls over global vendors and customer management, where you have field level approval of customer records. So rather than an individual creating a customer, it's now more of a collaborative experience, and also vendors, obviously, whereby several different individuals across the organization or groups of individuals have an input to the creation of those records. We have configurable templates. So you yourselves can change your formatting of invoice and so on without recourse to any support. And we now have Russian localization. For those of you with offices in Russia, we now have the facility to deal with all the regulatory requirements there. And finally, we have consolidation of planned orders. This list of what's coming is continually evolving. The product is evolving very rapidly. Right, I'm going to dive in very quickly and show you the product at a high level. I'll spend 5 minutes of your time, no more, and then we will focus on retail and talent. Okay, so I'm just going to jump out of here and into the product. So what we're looking at here is Microsoft Dynamics. This is the finance and operations element. I'm going to focus on 3 things: workspaces, task guides, and the mobile app. So as I said, workspaces are really a nice way of presenting data and activities to you in a single screen. So again, I have a finance background, so please do bear with me. I apologize if I'm focusing too much on finance here. So this is our credit control workspace here. So if I was a credit controller, I'd be looking at the activities, the disputes, customers over credit, and so on a daily basis. This is surfacing to me these areas of data I need to focus on. The key point is this isn't just a number. If I click on this, this is now going to take me straight through to those specific customers, and I can see exactly what's going on in their accounts. So these are our tiles over here. These are completely configurable. I'm showing you a workspace as standard. You can add your own tiles to this as well. So if you find there is certain information you want to look at on a day-to-day basis, you can add your own tiles. We then have interactive graphs. So again, graph's nice, it presents some information at very high level. I can see here I've got a small percentage of clients that are 180 days and overdue. So let's click on that segment of the pie chart. Again, I'm taken straight to those customers. So I'm drilling from the top level to the customer level, and I can just click on this and be taken straight down to the next level of information, the actual transactions that underlie that. So this is showing me all disputes, all transactions, and so on. So I'm very easily able to click from that very high level visualization of data to the next level, right down to transactional and detailed within 1 or 2 mouse clicks. Okay, so that's our workspaces. The 2 key elements, there's one more element. We've also got list views of various pertinent data. We also have links off to run various activities that may be of interest or use to us in our daily job. So a number of your users will spend their day in these workspaces because this is presenting everything they need to know. Again, these are completely configurable by yourselves. I will show you just one more just to give you the idea of the breadth of the workspaces available. bear with me 2 seconds, I'll show you a month-end one. Again, really, I'm just showing you this one because this gives an idea of tasks list. So this shows me across the company where I am with my month-end across all companies. I'm going to click on one. This is now showing me in this one company. Here's a list of all my activities, who's meant to have done them and by when, because we're massively overdue. Not only that, it's an interactive list. If I want to actually carry out this transaction or this activity, I can click on that and I'm taken straight to the activity. So again, at month end, rather than looking down the list where I need to do these 3 tasks and I'm clicking off down a menu to see where do I do them, I look at my task list, which can be tailored just to show mine, and I can go straight to that task and carry it out. More than that, these task lists now make sure that the data is available to us, so we can look at, is there a process improvement required here? Are we always late in a particular area? You know, is it a competency or is it a process issue that we need to look at enhancing our ability to carry out these tasks on time? So that's our workspaces. There are, many of them. There are production ones and so on, which present different data to us. I'm also going to show you now a task recorder. So what is a task guide? So we can spend a lot of time when we implement these systems on training. That's a big one-off cost, and quite easily that information degrades over time. People's memory of what they were trained on degrades. We have to look at videos online, or we have a dog-eared, battered old user guide in our desk that we look at. So a task guide really replaces that. It's a way of recording an activity in the system, saving it, and then allowing users to play it back, or even yourself to play it back. Maybe there are tasks you do once a month, you forget how to do them, or perhaps you're going on holiday and want to delegate your job to somebody. You can record what you do and someone can play it back. Now, I've created one in true Blue Peter style. I've created one earlier. So I'm going to go to my task recorder. I'm going to play a recording as a guide. So I previously recorded how to generate a purchase order. I'm now perhaps going on holiday. I've now given this to one of my staff to look at so they can see how to create a purchase order. So I'm going to start running a task guide. This in of itself is not interesting. It's a list of steps. So I'll start running the guide. Okay, so bear in mind, I'm in the live system now. This is telling me to go to procurement and sourcing. So let me do that. I'm going to go to procurement and sourcing, all purchase orders, just as it tells me. This is going to jiggle for a second just to get my attention, and then tell me, go over here to new. Let's create a new record. Again, bit of a jiggle. So this is, you see, this is dragging me through the process. So rather than being, a video that's not, that I've got to watch and absorb, or a document I've got to read and interpret, this is actually taking me through the process within the live system. Now, I might be, perhaps I'm a little rebellious and I want to go and say, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something else. I try and do something else and it's telling me, go back. I need to go back and carry out what it's telling me. So quite a powerful tool. For expediency's sake, I'm not going to show you how to record these, but they are very easy to record. And basically, I've got a start button up here, so I can basically start the recording whenever I want, stop the recording, and then they're free to play back. But more than this, there are over 300 of these already recorded when you buy the system. So rather than you recording every process or every task, there's a wealth of these already available for you to plug into and play, which you can access via help. Okay, I hope that's clear. The last thing I'm going to show you before I go back to more generic discussion around retail and talent is our mobile app. So as you can see here, now this is my own personal mobile I'm showing you. Oh, that's timed out, so bear with me while I type in my password. So a thing to note, for the mobile apps to work, your phones do have to be at least password or fingerprint controlled. So these workspaces are available to all employees. You can also create your own. There's a mobile app wizard within the system. I'm just going to show you an expense management one just for expediency's sake. So I want to capture an expense saying. So as you can see here, within seconds, I'm out and about. I've gone for a meal with a client maybe. I want to capture the time and the cost of this straight away. I'm spending £24 on this. Okay, I also want to take a photograph of the receipt. So this is now live. This is my phone. You can see the room that I'm in. Yeah, so I could just capture that receipt. I'm happy with that. Obviously, that's not a receipt. That's now ready to submit. So within seconds, I'm out and about, I've got an invoice, a receipt, whatever. I've put in the minimal amount of data, capture the receipt, submit it. That's now in the system, ready to be approved. By expense category, you can define various rules and policies so that you're controlling people can't spend more than £90 a night in a hotel or so on. So it's incredibly configurable. The amount of data you capture is really down to you. Okay, so that's the end of the sort of let's have a look demo. So I've shown you workspaces, a way of pulling together data and information in a way to surface information for people to do their day jobs. Task guides, powerful tool for enabling people to learn the system or to remind themselves of how the system works. And the mobile apps, which are available for people to work offline and push data straight into the system. So I'm going to look at 365 for retail now. So this app again can be purchased by itself or as part of the whole. The key features of this, I'm not going to read every single one of these. The key feature is the concept is to provide a seamless shopping experience. So no matter what your channel, whether it's via a store, telesales or the web, you've got that same experience throughout. You've got the back-end, this is one back-end system. So when you're looking at inventory availability online, or your telesales people are looking at it, or somebody's in a store, we can see what's available throughout the entire organization. You've not got silos of data anymore. You've not got silos of activities. You've not got lots of integrations with information passing between various systems. You've got this one back office system giving you that true omni-channel buying experience. It also enables you to make the most of your branding. You can store images, data, catalogs, and so on within the system, which can be surfaced via the web, which can then be utilized in store, which are available to your telesales staff and so on. You've also then got the facility of having promotions and loyalty points, which sit across all of those channels as well. So you may have your own web pages and so on. The web store integration functionality, in fact, let me just step out for a second and just show you that. There's a quick mock-up of a web store I have here. So basically, this is a demo web store. The web store itself isn't available with the product, but the connectivity is. So we're looking at items within our product catalog here. So if I look at audio, again, please don't be put off by the fact that your business is an audio business. The image here and all this data and sales prices are actually being fed direct from the retail module functionality in Dynamics 365 here. So this data is not held in the web store or various other databases. It's literally in that one location. It's within Dynamics 365 for retail. So quite powerful. You can link in your web store direct into all of your back-end retail system here. So it's a unified commerce platform. In terms of a modern store experience, customers' expectations are very high. Everyone expects the most from both in-store and also the web experience. It needs to be a smooth, seamless experience there. So again, by having this one single system in place, you've got a client's entire order history available, be it on the web or if you're talking to them in store on a mobile device. You can see the sorts of things they're interested in, the purchases they've previously made and so on. You also got the insights. We've got dashboards available, and again, we've got Power BI to really surface real-time information. In terms of add-ons to the solution, there are also other add-ons which enable you to track your users. So, for instance, if a user comes into, they've looked at your web store on their mobile phone, they come into an actual physical store. There are add-ons which will alert you to the fact that this user's come in. They've been interested in, say, I don't know, looking at, say, you're a car reseller. They've been interested in a particular model of a BMW, for instance. They walk into the store, you're alerted they're there. You can see immediately the sorts of things they might be interested in. So it's tailored towards creating that modern store experience. We've got the facility to effectively manage your merchandising. So we can segregate your merchandise by categories, assortments, and so on. And you've got very, very flexible pricing and promotion engines that sit within the system, which will enable you to look at. You can see, how particular channels or seasons are going, and start to target promotions and so on at specific sectors of your customer base and particular channels, to ensure that you really are making the most out of your sales and your demands and so on. As I've said earlier, it's a common theme throughout. So effectively, you've got this one single system. You've got insights across the whole piece. You've got data on your customers that gives you operational insights. Your end-to-day activities, we've talked about workflow that pervades the entire system, both retail, finance and operations, and talent. Workflow pervades all of these systems. So your end-to-day activities within your store can be sped up by having this workflow for pushing you down certain routes and automating processes as much as possible. I mentioned before, inventory visibility, absolutely key. You want to make sure that you really are getting the most of that visibility. That's not just on-hand inventory. That's looking down the entire supply chain to see exactly where are we in terms of product coming in and so on. What's coming for retail? Key features in retail that are coming: we've got distributed order management, which really allows you to really optimize and uses algorithms to help improve where your best fulfillment locations across warehouses, sites, stores, and so on. We've also got the facility now to store hours within the system, which then can be put on customer receipts, or it can be shown on the website, or via any of the multiple channels you can get in here, so that people can see where they can pick up from and so on, and they can be edited in bulk. We've got omni-channel payment connectors. You've also got omni-channel sales channel processing, so you can manage returns in a single returns or replacements in a single process, rather than having multiple processes going on. Okay, so that's a whistle-stop tour of retail. For the last 5-10 minutes or so, I'm going to look at talent. So what is talent? Dynamics 365 for Talent is effectively a modern tool for managing attracting the right people into your business, onboarding them, and then once they're there, developing them through the business. Microsoft have invested obviously in the purchase of LinkedIn. You don't have to use LinkedIn to make the most of talent. There are ways of you can use it for sourcing talent other than via LinkedIn. However, it's worth noting we do have LinkedIn talent solutions, so you can really leverage that. Microsoft owning both pieces of software here, really leveraging the use of LinkedIn to make sure that we're feeding through potential candidates into your pipeline as smoothly as possible, and you define those sourcing, you customize the sourcing recruitment processes yourself. From a candidate perspective, it provides a portal, so your candidates can log in once they've been identified. Once you've made that first contact, they can then see exactly how the hiring process is going. They can see the diary of interviews, or the activities, the questionnaires, the information you provided them at the drop of a hat. Obviously, it also integrates with Outlook, so we're able to email people directly and send notifications and so on. Similarly, your hiring managers have one view of that hiring process. Rather than managing via email and various disparate systems, you've got one system. It's worth noting, with one system, obviously GDPR compliance is a hot topic. If you've got one system, rather than having lots of information in silos all over the place, which is a nightmare to manage from a compliance perspective, everything's in that one system. So effectively, if you need to delete, amend, modify, remove information, it's all in one place. In terms of onboarding, you can personalize an onboarding process with checklists and so on. The onboarding can start before people arrive, so you can be sending them user guides, you can be sending them directions, information about the local area, about perhaps their buddies and so on. So really, the onboarding process is very strong. You define exactly how it operates, But again, it's one central repository. So if you move office, you can quickly update your directions, your information about the local area, so it's available to everyone immediately. If you've got certain guides you want to send out about ways of working, perhaps about dress code and so on, you can update them once in that one central location. It's then available for everyone. In terms of talent management, it's very easy. Your employees will have an employee self-service portal. You can add links into various training courses either you provide or third parties provide. So your users, your employees can very easily understand about the certifications that are required for their job. They can look at training that's out there. It really enables them to plan their career path and their goals. In terms of a high-performance team, obviously, feedback is quite clear. You're able to set goals, learning targets. It's a two-way process. Your employees can record details themselves about how they're performing. Again, I mentioned earlier, perhaps looking at the project side. With this, you can see which projects your employees have worked on, what experience they've gained as they've been within the organisation. So you're feeding lots of information from the various disparate sources. By having one unified system, you can keep track on exactly how people are developing, what they've worked on, perhaps client feedback and so on. Again, you've got real-time feedback and insights into how your employees are doing, as do they. Again, very similar, you manage your strategic impact. You can start automating routine tasks such as benefit compensation, leave and absence. So you're really, rather than being in the day-to-day transactional side of HR, you can automate that as much as possible and really focus on the strategy and so on. Again, we've got centralized benefits. So you really have one place where you can see, you've got their profiles, you've got 360-degree view of all their people. I've mentioned compliance, particularly in terms of GDPR, and you've got a rich set of analytics. What's coming? Although the system works with LinkedIn Recruiter now, the next release will have a completely smooth and seamless integration with LinkedIn Recruiter. So effectively, rather than switching between the two, this is just one system you're operating now. You've also got intelligence built in. I talked about machine learning and intelligence with regards to manufacturing. This is now available for the job market and looking for relevant candidates. You've got the facility to bulk update guides and so on. So if details change, you change them once centrally, and that's published to everyone. And then finally, we've got some leave and absence management enhancements coming. They say this list changes all the time. Power apps and flow I shan't dwell on. It's worth noting, I didn't say this at the beginning, all of these details, so we're touching at a very, very high level here. If you're interested in specific elements, you'd like to see them actually demonstrated, and you want to learn more about how these really work and actually see them in action, obviously please do contact Bytes, and we'd be more than happy to present these in a lot more detail. As I mentioned, Power Apps is a way of actually defining mobile apps that work offline, that interact with your current systems, be it Dynamics 365 or anything else, and Flow is really a way of pushing data between systems based on certain triggers, be they in Outlook or SurveyMonkey or whatever. I'll touch on licensing briefly. The slide deck will be available after the session. Now, this may look like this is an interesting slide. We've got two effective halves of this: customer engagement, so the session that Kevin ran earlier, which is the old school CRM, and unified operations, the area we've looked at today, finance and operations, retail and talent. These have two licensing models and also a plan that sits over the top that enables your users to access to both of these. The various levels of access, I won't go into any detail, but underpinning this, we have a team member access, which is, we're talking in the order of pounds per month per user effectively. And this enables people to put on time, expenses, raise purchase requisitions, self-serve on their HR experience and so on. So if we had a profile where the numbers we're showing here, 100 in engagement and 150 team members and 50 using talent, effectively the cost per day per user would be about £1.16. So the cost of a very, very cheap cup of coffee. As the business expands and we want to move out into other areas, perhaps we've got people who want to sit across both aspects, both sets of applications here with a plan. We've got people doing activities, warehousemen or perhaps purchase ledger clerks and so on. When you have a profile, as shown in this scenario, effectively, you've got a cost about $2.99 per user per day. So yeah, a large cappuccino of an extra shot. So the whole per user licensing model really helps you to scale up and scale down very easily, and it has a very low per user per day effective cost. For more detail on licensing, obviously Bytes are your experts, so please do contact them to go through that. Finally, once you're up and running with the system, QuantiQ also offer a managed service solution. So effectively, as I said, our intent is to give you full control of the system, so that once we've finished the implementation, you own it, you manage it, you understand it fully. You're as expert almost as our own team. However, you might want that knowledge. You've got somebody on the end of a phone who can answer specific queries. So most of our employees, most of our consultants have an industry background in either retail, finance, manufacturing, supply chain, distribution, whatever. So you can get hold of that expertise very easily at the end of a phone. And I'll leave, it's rather a busy slide. We have a full managed service available with access to our portal and extended hour support and so on, if you so wish. Okay, that was a very, very swift whistle-stop tour of the solution. I hope it is of use to you. If you have any specific questions, please do raise them and we'll deal with them.
Thank you, Andy. I'll just quickly check now and see if there are any questions. So I think this might be a question referring to towards the beginning of the presentation. Someone's asked, is the Excel pullout automated and refreshable, or an export/import functionality? Does that make sense?
Okay, no, that's a good question. The Excel integration. Sorry, I'll unmute myself. There we go. There we go. I'm unmuted now. The Excel integration is completely native. For it to work perfectly for the publishing back, ideally you need to be on Office 2016 or above, but effectively from within the solution, perhaps you're entering a journal, you're updating a whole swathe of customer records, perhaps you're changing their payment terms or whatever. There's a button to open in Excel. You click on that, it will open the list, the data in Excel. It will drop in any master data that's required for that information, and you can edit in Excel and publish straight back. So it's a seamless experience. You're in the product, you click on open in Excel, Excel will open in a templated, structured form, presenting any data you need in there. You can then amend it and hit the publish button, and it will squirt straight back in. I think that was the question. I hope that kind of answers it. Happy to demonstrate it. In terms of timing, perhaps not now, but certainly if you'd like to see that, more than happy to show that in a separate session or 5-minute webinar.
Perfect, thank you. Yes, if there are no more questions, if you feel there's something you would like to ask after the webinar is finished, you can email tellmemore@bytes.co.uk, and we can direct you to your Bytes account manager or to a QuantiQ specialist to get the answer for you. As we mentioned earlier, a copy of the recording will be made available to you, as well as the slides, probably in the next day or so. There is a very, very quick feedback form at the end of the webinar, which will just pop up, so really appreciate your feedback if you could just fill that out. And I think that is all. You can pop on there if you are interested in a demo with QuantiQ, and they'd be more than happy to organise and get that booked in for you. So that's all from me today. Thank you very much, Andy, for your time on today's webinar, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.